Hello there, I hope you're ready to take a nice little nap. This time I'll be telling the story of the Snowman. It's a wonderful story for all ages based on the story of the same name from 1982. If you liked it, please like, subscribe and turn on the little bell. Links to my Patreon and my other social media are in the description below. Now, turn off the lights and get tucked in, close your eyes, the story is about to begin.
One winter morning, all you could see was snow on the grass and snow-covered trees, snow-smothered roofs, lamps, roads and stairs, snow in the gardens, on tabletops and chairs. All was so white, so quiet, so still. There was snow atop chimneys and on windowsills. Today was magic, I could just tell. The whole world was frozen and still snow fell. My room was quiet and filled with cold light, the chilly air calming, the sky cloudy and bright. Snuggled in bed, I breathed the cold air. Wiggling under covers, my toes were bare. Breaking the silence was the tick of a clock. So I got out of bed and slipped on each sock. On went my jumper, the chill air making me slow, and on the landing I looked out the window. Magic flakes swirled, they twirled all around. Then I tiptoed downstairs, not making a sound. Down the hall I heard a clink. Mum was washing up in the sink. She said, "Good morning," and smiled slow. As I rushed to the door to see the snow. Open swung the door, but before I could leave, Mum called me back and tugged up her sleeve. She said, "You'll catch your death in all of that snow. Wrap up warm and then you can go." I frowned at Mum, then turned back around, got some warm clothes and sat on the ground. On went my boots, hat, scarf and coat, then stepped outside to watch the snow float. Down to the ground it tumbled and twirled. Before my eyes the snowflakes swirled. I laughed and ran out into the snow. It covered everything and laid just so. Walking all over, I heard a strange sound. Wait, just there, it followed me around. I watched my feet as I stomped and stepped. My boots creaked and squeaked wherever I went. I swung on a branch, and when I let go, my head and my shoulders got covered in snow. I made snowballs and threw them into the sky. You'd think they were birds, they flew so high. Making some more, I threw them around, but one hit the window with a spattering sound. Now I'm in trouble, I thought to myself, as snow fell off the ice-covered shelf. The window flung open and Mum told me off. I called, "Sorry," and slouched into snowfall so soft. I had one ball left, alone on the ground. Sadly in the snow, I nudged it around. Rolling it forward added more snow. It started off small, then it started to grow. It grew so big an idea sprang to mind. I started adding all the snow I could find. I patted it smooth, then Mum called me in. We had tea and biscuits from a big brown tin. They smelled so sugary, so sweet. I took far more than I could possibly eat. And while inside, the pile grew bigger still, as I watched it from the windowsill. Cookie crumbs still on my chin, I had a thought and started to grin. It needs a head, I thought to myself, and took a footstool from the shelf. In the snow, I made a ball, then set it on the snow heaped tall. Then ran inside and begged my dad to give me his old scarf and hat. Soon we found a tartan scarf, and a tattered hat sat on the hearth. Back outside I put them on my snowman who sat on the lawn. Something's missing. I stood back and saw his head beneath his hat. Yes, that's it. He needs a face, with eyes, a nose and a smile in place. I thought for a while, and then I chose an orange for a big bright nose. Small round coals I chose for eyes, then bigger ones for button ties. Last I drew a kindly smile, then stood back and stared a while. Mum told me it was time for bed. I came inside, cheeks all red. I brushed my teeth and washed my face, and back to bed I all but raced. I snuggled down and got tucked in. Mum swaddled covers to my chin. She checked that there was naught amiss, then brushed my forehead with a kiss. I tossed and turned, but I couldn't sleep, so I slipped out of bed with chilly feet. I tiptoed to the window and peered at the snowman in the ground I'd cleared, then snuck downstairs at late o'clock and watched from the front door in shock, as all at once, with a flash of light, at the very last stroke of midnight, before my eyes it was plain to see, the snowman blinked and smiled at me. Moving forward without a sound, he tipped his hat to me and bowed. I shook his hand and grinned at him. He grinned back and chucked my chin. I brought him in to meet my cat, dozing on the hearth-fire mat. But she hissed at the big snowman. She swiped at him, then off she ran, and the snowman stumbled back in fright and knocked our tree bright with light. It teetered and swayed and almost fell, but just jingled all the bells. On tree boughs, with bells and bows, hung gold baubles reflecting his nose. He laughed and laughed in delight, and looked in wonder at twinkling lights. On the couch we watched TV, his eyes got wide and shined at me, but soon the room got too hot, so we went to play with kitchen pots. I showed him around and flicked on the light. It lit up the room, warm and bright. We played with the taps, he liked them too. To him everything was shiny and new. In a bowl that was full of fruit he found an orange that looked cute. Looking, an idea came to mind, and he sorted through all the fruit he could find. He took off his nose, and a pear took its place. Next a banana, a pineapple, and a cherry on his face. I opened the fridge to find some more. He loved the cold air spilling from the door. He sidled close like you would to a fire, and cooled his hands and face for a while. Then upstairs we slowly crept, and went to the room where my parents slept. They snored and sighed in their sleep, and in a glass of water we found false teeth. Mr. Snowman put them in, and gave me a great big grin. It made us laugh, and I pulled him away to their dresser so that we could play. We took off his scarf and put on a tie, then he found glasses and a pipe. He looked great, but he wasn't done. He started spraying perfume just for fun. A spritz here and a little there, he sprayed the room without a care. But soon he felt a sniffle in his big orange nose. Then a sniffle turned to a snuffle and started to grow. Quickly we hurried to pull off the clothes. We put them back while he pinched his nose. I pulled him by the hand and closed the door fast, and in the hallway it seemed to have passed. Then all of a sudden, and out of the blue, there was a very, very loud "Achoo!" I beckoned him into my room next. Out of everything he liked the music box best. The little box plinked a sweet little tune, and the snowman twirled around the room. He danced and spun with such grace, but accidentally stepped on my skate. He zoomed around my room so wild, but soon he was gliding around with style. He picked up my teddy and danced around. Some other toys got knocked to the ground. He picked me up, but then we crashed. We laughed and grinned, unabashed. Still giggling, we then went outside and found a tarp, but what did it hide? A motorbike stood tall and proud. He revved the engine, which all but growled. On went our helmets, and then we were away. It was the most fun I'd had all day. The headlamp lit fields as we rode by. I gripped the snowman with a delighted cry. Birds scattered from our path and rabbits hopped away. We saw owls in the forest and other birds of prey. Foxes and squirrels dart through the trees. A deer in headlights could only freeze. We even saw a wild horse or two. Dashing through the snow they flew. Returning home, we put the bike back. We'd left the shed open just a crack. We had a big freezer in the shed. The snowman used it like a bed. Suddenly standing, he went outside. Concerned, I shifted from side to side. He seemed to feel the need to leave, and walked with me, pulling my sleeve. Holding my hand, he started to run. A run became a dash, and I felt a jolt in my tum. Magic tingled at my fingertips, and a smile of wonder came to my lips. And with a great whoosh, we flew into the air. Our feet left the ground, the wind in my hair. We flew up, 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 so very high, into the deep midnight sky. We flew over fields, houses and trees. Everything was white as far as the eye could see. Down below there were other snowmen, waving up at us as though we were friends. We flew past a palace and a brightly lit pier, then up even higher the snowman steered. We saw shifting frozen shapes in the clouds, the wind in my ears rushing loud. Over land and out to sea, the frozen magic carried me. When salty air met my lips, we saw icy waves and frozen ships. Soaring through the frozen sky, below us icy mountains drifted by. Above us, shining, blinding bright, were the colourful shifting northern lights. Pale pinks, blues and greens were reflected in icy streams. Before I knew it, we began to land, and the snowman still held my hand. I looked around where we stood and walked into the frozen wood. Nervousness knocked my knees as we walked through the forest and brushed by fir trees. We came to a clearing, and I was shocked to see a snowman party amongst the trees. Snowmen with carrot noses and bobble hats, tartan scarves and top hats, spotty bow ties and Scottish kilts, cowboy hats and apron frills. In the middle of it all was a jolly old man dressed in red, with a big long white beard and a shiny bald head. We had cupcakes and tea and lots of food. Then the snowmen struck up a wonderful tune. Tambourines and trumpets, violins. We all danced in a line and started to spin. Snowman to snowman, I swung around. I laughed as I spun to the wonderful sound. Mr. Snowman scooped me into a hug, then spun me into a dance with a tug. We spun so fast, then with a leap, we fell down to the ground in a heap. Then kind Father Christmas helped me up and brought me inside his charming hut. He showed me the reindeer. What an honour! I met Dasher, Dancer, and even Donna. Back inside we warmed up, and I snuggled with Santa's pup. In the corner sat gifts in a sack. He plucked one out and brought it back. He gave me a box, and looking inside, a snowman-covered scarf lay tied. Next thing I knew, it was time to go, and we dashed back across the sparkling snow. Up, 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 we flew into the sky. Looking back, I waved goodbye. We zoomed back the way we'd come, and my hands and feet felt quite numb. But soon my house was back in view, the scarf in my pocket, soft and new. Landing gently, it was time for bed, but needing to stay just a bit longer instead, I hugged him and then went to the door. He waved, then stood where he was before. Up the stairs I slunk fast, then slipped into bed at last. I snuggled in my covers and soon fell asleep, dreaming of snowmen and gifts to keep. I woke up bright and rushed downstairs, past my parents in our kitchen chairs. Stepping outside, I looked around. Snow fell around me without a sound. My heart was crushed. The garden was bare. My friend, the snowman, wasn't there. On the ground where he had stood, the scarf and hat lay for good. Was it real? How could this be? I held the gift Santa had given me. If this was real, then so was the rest. And now I know I was truly blessed. Maybe next year I'd see him again, but I'd miss my very best friend. The end. I hope you've enjoyed this story, and maybe you're already snoring. Good night.